Hello, and welcome to another episode of Speak Film and Enter, a podcast where we review and rank movies. I'm Nate.
And I'm Dylan.
And I'm Adam.
I was just waiting for Adam to do something since he.
This time I tried not to because I've been trying to do just minimal things just to get as people listen or watch, they got something to look at.
Yeah, as people are walking in to the room, you kind of got you gotta have something going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're reviewing the new horror movie from. I actually don't even know who the director for this is. I didn't look that up.
Scott Derrickson.
Thank you. And Ethan Hawke is in the movie. That was the first thing that really was coming to my mind. But The Black Phone, which is currently playing in theaters, just came out this past weekend and is doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's getting a good amount of hype too.
Yeah,
a lot of horror fans are saying it's pretty good, and I think it's certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Absolutely, fresh, certified. However you want to say it.
Yep.
If you are unaware of what The Black Phone is about, I'll give you a quick hit here. After being abducted by a child killer and locked in a soundproof basement, a 13-year-old boy starts receiving calls on a disconnected phone from the killer's previous victims.
Ooh.
It's a little, I wouldn't call it sci-fi, but a little mystery or fantasy.
Definitely not science fiction.
No. And this is
supernatural.
That's
on a book. This is based on a book by Joe Hill, who might sound unremarkable, but Nate, who is Joe Hill?
Joe Hill is the son of Stephen King. So if the synopsis there sounded exactly like a Stephen King type of story, then
it tracks.
Not too far off.
It kind of is.
Yeah. He's also known for writing the movie Horns, which was a Daniel Radcliffe movie. There was a Netflix movie a couple years ago, 2019,
based off his own novel.
Okay. Nice. So In the Tall Grass was a Netflix movie in 2019, and then now this one. So
wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
I read this before.
He's like, no, now it all clicks.
No, it does. So I thought it was a short story. I couldn't remember if it was a short story or a novella, but I knew it wasn't like a novel. And that was one of the things I wanted to talk about when we were reviewing the movie. Is it feels like Shawshank Redemption and Stand By Me are both based on Stephen King novellas, and they take what's there and kind of expand on it and make the story a little bit bigger, which you can often do for a story that's like 100 to 200 pages long. This is a 45-page short story.
Wow.
And it feels like it, I think, where it's kind of stretched a little more. But the reason I forgot is that it's part of a collection of short stories by Joe Hill that I read like 5 years ago.
Okay. All
right. So
right.
I had kind of spaced that it was in there.
Just tickles the back of your memory.
No. I mean, whatever excuse you want to put out there for not remembering until now, that's fine.
That's the one I'm going with.
Okay. No, that's interesting. I now that you say that, that makes sense, because I feel like stretched is like a good way to describe the movie. Like I liked a lot of it, but it did feel just kind of like it was missing depth of like certain characters and like certain plot devices.
And like some type of subplot or something.
I feel like there is a subplot. Everything was never like connected back. Like, I mean, I guess we can talk about it when we get there towards the end of the movie, but.
Yeah, should we start with things that we did like? Because I mean, I could see why this is getting a lot of good reviews and kind of getting hyped up. I think probably for me the highlight or the strength would be the performances and like the child actors, and then I mean Ethan Hawke is in it. I thought he was a little underutilized and a little underwhelming, but it was still like he's a big name and a great actor, so having him as the serial killer is going to be at least interesting. And then, I thought the kids did a really good job, particularly the main Finney and Gwen, the brother-sister, who are the main.
Looks like Finney is Mason Thames, however you want to pronounce that. And then Madeleine McGraw is Gwen, which would be his sister in this movie. So two relative unknowns. I don't think I've seen them in anything, although I will say I'll echo Dylan's point. I thought that the child actors were very good, and this struck me. We walked out of the theater, we saw it together. I was like, oh, that kind of reminds me of like It, like just the tone and the whole, like the kids, kind of not a coming of age, but like a summer story, something like that. You're really locked into a time frame with them. I thought that was really solid.
I mean, I thought Mason Thames was giving me like young Harrison Ford vibes. Like that's kind of what I kept being like that's like the vibe I was getting from him. And then Madeleine McGraw is just a spitfire. I mean, she she just like gets after it, and I feel like she's definitely
cussing out whoever's in her way.
Whoever's in her way. I mean, yeah,
bullies, Jesus.
I know, like, and I felt like her just immediate like presence. Like, I feel like I'm gonna see her pop up in more things because when she was on screen, it was like boom, like I don't know, she's got it.
I went into her IMDb page and she was in American Sniper. She was in Mitchell's versus the Machines. She's young Katie.
A voice. Okay.
Yep. She's in Toy Story 4. She's the voice of Bonnie. She was young Hope in Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think she was the youngest or the young version of
nice.
Of the Wasp. Also does a voice for Cars 3, which nobody saw, and the newer Pacific Rim Uprising. So she's been in a couple things. Not that Pacific Rim, the second one, was very good, but she's been in some big projects. So
I like that you took the opportunity to take a shot at Cars 3 there.
Thank you.
Yeah, very well done.
I haven't seen it, so like, who cares?
Whenever the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
So
what do you like, Nate?
I mean, this is the type of story that I really like. It's just kind of a subgenre that I'm just a sucker for, basically, which is basically it's the kids versus monsters tropes. And there are some supernatural elements in this movie, but the bad guy being just a person, it's still basically the same thing.
Yeah.
And I just really like that kind of stuff. I'm also kind of a sucker for like a good like sibling relationship story. And just I really like the setup of having like the sister trying to find her brother with this sort of little bit of magical realism, supernatural element, which I think I like sometimes when they don't feel the need. There's kind of a fine line of how much explanation you need for those types of things.
Yeah.
I guess for stuff like this, I generally prefer to just kind of leave it and just accept that it exists and they don't really understand why. Because otherwise, then you get into something like, I don't know, like Dr. Sleep or something, which is like a 3-hour movie, which I really like. But then once you start diving into, then it needs to be like a big part of the story.
Yeah.
You can't just kind of have to make
sense. Yeah, it's got to really make sense and at least like be able to logically connect to be like, okay, that's how this fits into here and here and here and here.
Exactly. And if you don't have that, then just say, I don't know, they can do it. They don't even know why.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I just noticed too, the guy who played the dad, I just saw this. He looked really familiar to me the whole time. He's the medic or translator guy that goes with him in Saving Private Ryan. Like the guy that doesn't carry a weapon.
What's his name? Is
Terrence?
that Jeremy Davies?
It's Jeremy Davies.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Yeah, he plays Oppum.
Yeah, I think that was a bit of a weak part where that was kind of a thread that sort of started and never really went anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's where I think this being a 45-page short story turned into an hour and 40-minute movie, there are things here that I think just could have been expanded upon. Instead, it takes us a while for the story to kick into what you're expecting, a little longer than I thought. And then once we get there, it's kind of, I liked what they were doing. I mean, I liked the setup of like the kind of the production design of like the room and the things that are there and things that he can kind of use or explore to try to get out. And I really like the way they brought most of that together in the climactic sequence. I thought that was all done really, really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is just kind of a lot of the same thing for like, it's kind of the kid has been kidnapped, back to the sister, back to the kid, back to the sister, back to the kid. And it would have been nice to at least, there were opportunities here to expand more and utilize Ethan Hawke more than they did.
Yeah.
Definitely there were opportunities to utilize Ethan Hawke more than they did. I felt like he's mostly behind the mask, which is fine, but like, you know, he's so we don't get any
great mask, by the way.
Great mask. Yeah. And there's like a couple variations. I thought that was a nice touch. But also like we never dig into his like backstory or like what makes him tick. I mean, we don't get like the typical, you know, serial killer scene where it's him, you know, just alone in his house or out in public trying to be a normal person. And we can kind of see like, oh, that's like, you know, that's what he's like. We kind of get a feel for who he is. This movie didn't have like any of that. We don't get a reason as to why he does what he does. One complaint for me was like, he lives with his brother
Well, his brother's staying with him. I think they kind of make a point that it's not permanent, but he's just there at the time.
Which also, so his brother's played by James Ranson, who is Ziggy in The Wire, which is fun.
Yeah,
so, sorry.
Yeah, and he also plays a pimp in Tangerine. He knows how to pick his roles.
Chapter 2,
he knows how to pick his roles. Yeah,
for sure.
But yeah, like I just thought that was weird. Like, okay, so yeah, his brother's staying with him, and his brother is super invested in solving the case, so much that he calls the detectives to his house to like tell him his theories. But the actual killer is right under his nose, and we just never even got like a scene explaining how that would even work, or like
there's one scene with James Ranson and Ethan Hawke together.
Only one. I mean, come on, like it wouldn't have been hard.
That's where I think if you had, that's such a great dynamic. I mean, that could be a movie by itself.
Yeah. I know. Like, is he going along with it? Is he really that ignorant? Is Ethan Hawke like a domineering older brother who's just like mind tripping him into like not believing it or not accepting it? I mean, there were layers there, and instead, like you said, they're only together for one scene. It's like, come on.
And what's it like to have somebody in the house when you literally have a kidnapped child in the basement?
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah. There was depths that it could have gone to.
There's opportunities.
They could have really dug into that, and I think that would have elevated this movie quite a bit.
Yeah. I would agree. I know we're kind of talking about what we didn't like right now.
Yeah, you can bounce it. You can bounce it back.
Yeah, the to kind of talk about what Nate said earlier with the supernatural gift that the sister has. I like you said, often when they don't explain it, but this felt like they didn't explain it, and then they didn't even loop it back to like how she knows anything or why she has like a power, or like how it connects to her brother,
or how the ghosts of the victims are like, how is she bringing it together with like her power and specifically reaching out to the ghosts? Or are they reaching out to her? And like, how much is she actually controlling versus like is she making this happen, or are they kind of making it happen?
Yeah.
Like,
there's something that the writer for Perks of Being a Wallflower said, like in the book, there's kind of a subplot that they don't include in the movie, and it's a deleted scene. Okay, like the special features or whatever. And somebody asked him why he didn't include that in the movie, and he said he had it at first, and then I can't remember who he talked to, but he said that somebody told him you can only have one ghost in a movie.
Oh,
and it was kind of like it was a thing in like somebody's past that they were dealing with. And it was like two separate things, and it was like kind of keep it on one path. And this movie kind of breaks that a little bit, because there are two separate supernatural elements with the phone and the sister. And to Adam's point, they never bring them together.
They never converge at all.
Exactly. And that makes you kind of wonder as a viewer, like, is this the same thing? Is it the same like power? Is it different? Like, what is it? And then it's just kind of, they just kind of leave it there.
Until when she finally like helps and figures stuff out, like they just abandon it. They're like, okay, cool, we'll never talk about it again. It's like,
right.
I wanted something, even like a couple lines.
And that's again where I think when you have a 45-page short story, you don't expect a lot of explanations on these types of things. It's like from one perspective, and you got these two like couple things moving, and can the kid get out? And there you go. It's 45 pages. You're done. And then turning it into a feature, you need to do a little more.
Yeah. It felt like there were certain beats that I expected it to hit with this kind of story. And because the story was different and felt fresh and new, I was excited to see how this movie would hit those beats, right? I was excited for the scene when the detectives maybe run into him, but they don't realize he's the serial killer yet. And you get like that kind of like, oh, it's right under, right? That like, there were just all these familiar, and like maybe they're, tropes or whatever, but like I felt like I was waiting for those, and a lot of them, those
tropes exist for a reason.
Yeah, and I want it, like, even towards they're really, there's just certain things, I'm not going to ruin it, but I was just like, oh, like I liked all the new stuff, but you could have kept some of the classic stuff as well. Like, you didn't need to reinvent the wheel here. Or at least, I don't know. So that I think was lacking, but then I have to balance that out with like, I also really liked like the late 70s, like setting and like the aesthetic of the movie. It felt very appropriately creepy and like kind of rustic and kind of gothic almost, like just that October vibe. Like this would be a solid October Halloween movie.
this could be a very popular mask this October.
Yes, everything is kind of dingy, the grainy,
it's a pre-milk carton world.
Yeah, it's in the Midwest somewhere. I'm assuming Indiana.
It's in Denver.
Right.
Denver. But yeah, approprioply like rural-ish town.
They specifically say it's in Denver.
That's right. They do. It's like the beginning of the movie, like Denver, 1972 or something.
Well, and then there's a moment where the Denver police chief is like,
it
doesn't really matter.
It's close enough to the
whatever. I think it did a good job of like building like the community dread, like with one kid after another, and the missing signs on posters on all and just like the interactions in school as more and more kids went missing, and you could tell that like everyone was freaked out. Like I thought they did that very well. I definitely felt the small town serial killer on the loose aesthetic and mood, and it was creepy.
So it felt a little bit like Mindhunter at times.
Yeah. That's a good comparison. Yeah, that's
at least
similar
like visually.
Yeah.
Well, and that whole feel is how I like. That's why I walked out and was like, that kind of felt like it. Like it
a little bit like it chapter
feel.
1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Was there anything I guess else that we wanted to get to as far as the writing, directing? I mean, I think we kind of touched on the things we liked and the things we didn't like,
performances and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can dive right into the stars.
Okay.
Right. We'll be right back with our star ratings.
Do we even need to go separately, or I think we all gave this the same score?
Did we? Really?
It looks like we all gave this the same score, so I think we can just announce it as a group, please. Nate or
on
Adam.
The count of
1.
I like what you did there.
All right.
So yes, we're all giving this a 3 out of 5.
Yes. Yep. There you go. Dylan, Nate, Adam. Boom.
1, 2, 3,
3s
boom,
across
boom,
the
boom.
board.
Yeah.
Universally, it's good.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the things that they do well in this movie, they do really well, but there were just a lot of missed opportunities to do more.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And maybe that's I don't know. I haven't looked too much into the director if this is, an early project for him, if he's like just starting his career, or maybe it's a Joe Hill thing. I don't really know.
I could see Scott. Yeah, is Scott Derrickson even his real name, or is it just Stephen King's son?
Oh, it looks like
the first Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah,
I was just Doctor Strange. He did Sinister. Okay, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. So, all right, I can definitely see the Sinister influence also being about kids and a lot of grainy footage and stuff. But I will say, I mean, I liked this more than Sinister. I think this is better.
I haven't seen Sinister.
Yeah, it's okay. I think also with Ethan Hawke.
It is. I'm looking at a picture of it right now.
Okay. All right, so Ethan Hawke and Scott Derrickson got a thing going on.
Looks like it.
But yeah, I think just a solid 3 for me. And I did mention I wrote a review on Letterboxd, and if it hadn't been so hyped,
that's part of it too.
It might have found its way to a 3.5. I think I just went in expecting like the best horror movie of the year and like a really like wow kind of serial killer portrayal from Ethan Hawke.
Like something that's going to stick with you.
Yeah, I was really walking in like, man, what is Ethan Hawke going to do with this? And like, what is it about this? And besides like the stuff that we mentioned that I like, and also a few jump scares that I genuinely didn't see coming. One got me really bad. Good.
For sure. One got me and everybody in my row, and everybody sort of let out a collective like sigh or like sigh of relief, or like kind of laugh, or sort of a like right after.
Yeah. So I will definitely give it kudos to that. It's good.
Yeah.
And if you like horror movies, I think it's worth going to see, but I just think that going in, it was so hyped that that's going to take it down to just a solid 3.
Yeah. I think this will be a good, like Friday night staying in movie.
For sure. And the type of movie where if it had just kind of like quietly gone to streaming and we just like found it randomly, I think we'd probably be like, oh man, you need, hidden gem for sure. But it didn't come in with that. It came in with a lot of fanfare. So yeah. Solid. Yeah. All right. Is there anything else we want to say about The Black Phone, or I think it's my turn to put a wrap on the show?
Yeah, I'm good. So.
All right. The psychopath will never accept his own diagnosis.
Nailed it.